no big deal. And the reason the Suns are a big deal, and we thought that coming into the season, but this win, no big deal. And the reason is they're playing a depleted Lakers team. The Lakers team, this is not really the Lakers. First of all, you have AD out. And I and many people were pointing out, without Schroeder especially at the time, that's devastating because the Lakers really need that other playmaker in the backcourt. Schroeder comes back, the Lakers cruise to a win. It looks like, maybe all LeBron needs is Schroeder in the backcourt with him, and with what else he has, he can figure it out. But actually, they were also missing Gasol, and they were also missing Kuzma, and they were playing a powerhouse team in the Suns. I know Devin Booker gets ejected and all that stuff, but he's not the only one. He's the focal point. They spent a lot of defensive energy on him and Chris Paul. But those guys can move the ball, find open guys, Bridges and Crowder and Saric and Cam Johnson, and not to mention Ayton. They have a whole lot, that team. So the Suns are a powerhouse. And look, they went 8-0 in the bubble before they got Chris Paul, and we knew they were going to be a powerhouse this year. But this particular win against the Lakers team coming to the All-Star break, with now LeBron has to miss the next game because he's ailing. Not just down AD, but down Kuzma and down Marc Gasol. I'm not going to read too much into this.
I will, and I'm going to say it's a big victory, and I'm going to say that because Devin Booker got ejected, which, by the way, is a different story for another day. We've got to look into this. I mean, the NBA officiating. I'm not going to even point to the officiating. I'm going to talk to the heavy hand that the league has given them to hand down upon players. Let's just take this into consideration, y'all. We've been ravaged by a global pandemic. You don't have fans in attendance. It's depressing enough to watch these guys perform without fans in attendance. Yet they go out on the court, they go all out, they play their hearts out. They act like it's 20,000 people in attendance. They're doing all of this stuff, and then you sit up there and a team that has been dormant for years is on the rise. The 4th-ranked defense in the National Basketball Association, led by Monty Williams, who, by the way, is another Coach of the Year candidate. What a sensational job he is doing as head coach of the Phoenix Suns. You got a star in Devin Booker who had no business not being picked for the All-Star game by the coaches. He's averaging 25 a game. And yes, there is no Anthony Davis, Max, but there's still LeBron James. And Devin Booker is on the other side of the court. And that is what warrants an ejection. I mean, there was nothing demonstrative. There were no fists being thrown or anything like that. We couldn't even figure it out. And you're going to eject this guy for a nationally televised game. Just no regard whatsoever for the fans. And that's where the NBA needs to be called out about this. Just no regard for the fans in this particular situation. You don't think about the fact that it's a nationally televised game and we want to see Devin Booker and you're just going to eject him over something like that? It's utterly ridiculous. Having said all of that, the Phoenix Suns still showed up and showed out and handled their business. And I understand that the Lakers were shorthanded, but without Devin Booker, aren't they supposed to be shorthanded? With CP3 only hitting 1 field goal the entire game, although he registered 10 assists. Is that not a big deal? But I'm looking at Mikal Bridges. I'm looking at Saric. I'm looking at the rest of these cats, even a Jay Crowder and all of these boys. And I'm just saying to myself, excuse me, the Phoenix Suns are coming. Best record in the NBA since late January. 15 of their last 18 games they've won. They play defense, they go at it, and I just love the fact that they're on the rise and they're doing what they're doing. Because again, if they had been a team that had been there all of this time, Max, then it would not have been a big deal that they beat the Lakers. But the fact that they're just now ascending from bubble play to now, and you see them continuing to get better and better. You see how exceptionally well coached they are. You see how exceptional of a defensive team they are. You recognize the star that is Devin Booker, because he is a star. Make no mistake about it. And I just love what I'm seeing right now, man. I'm just looking at these guys right here. And Ayton, by the way, he finished with 17 points. This brother can play. Big boy can play. Obviously, he was picked before Luka Doncic, Trae Young, and those boys. And so we sit up there and look at him along with his injury history, and we say, what's the big deal? But the brother can play. The brother can play. And so I'm just happy with what I'm seeing right now, and I'm going to give him props where it's due.
Bunch of things based on what you just said. First, Devin Booker gets ejected. And by the way, Stephen A., not just consideration for the fans, because if he deserves to be ejected, he deserves to be ejected. But what was that first whistle about? And then after the game, they say constant complaining. You tee him up that's basically nothing. And then he directed something at an official they didn't like. 2 whistles and you're out. Come on. But at that time, so we're on the same page about that. But at that time, the Suns had a lead. Like, they were controlling the game and they had a lead. I think they were up like 7. We're talking about the third quarter. It's not like they played the whole game without Devin Booker. And the Suns are a deeper team than the Lakers in terms of their talent that would be in most rotations. Talent that would start on a lot of teams. They're deeper in that sense than the Lakers, who in addition to not having a lot of those guys, like, LeBron and AD may be better than anyone they have, but the next 5 or 6 or 7 players on the list would all be from the Suns. And the Lakers are shorthanded. That's why I'm discounting it. Got to say this about the Suns. They're a high IQ team in addition to everything else. You look at Chris Paul and Devin Booker, the court vision that Devin Booker has. Of course, we know about Chris Paul, the connection between Chris Paul and a guy like Saric. If you you have legit 3-and-D guys. They're legit, and we knew this coming into the season. It's not like this is some kind of new information. I'm just saying, if the Lakers, and by the way, LeBron did his thing, like he started hitting threes late in the game. He just didn't have enough with him. And based on that game, I'm not convinced, for example, if AD's back, the Suns are going to beat the Lakers in a 7-game series. Excellent win by an excellent team, but it doesn't change my thinking about anything. I can't call it a big deal win.
Well, I say it changed my thinking from the standpoint that I'm going to look at Phoenix with a level of seriousness I may not have looked at them before. Even though I saw them in bubble play and then I saw them earlier this season, the fact that they're on this kind of tier, beating the teams that they've beaten, along with the leadership of CP3, combined with the fact that Devin Booker has emerged as a star, that's it. That's valid in and of itself. But forgive me for taking a moment to give props to Monty Williams. You see, because we just lamented the other day the paucity of African American coaches in the National Basketball Association, the National Football League, and what have you. Look at the job that Monty Williams is bringing. And by the way, notable names that have been assistants for years or have been scouts for years, the Willie Greens of the world that were once in Golden State, the Mark Bryants of the world, the Randy Ayers, people like that. My brother, the former head coach for the Philadelphia 76ers, former head coach at Ohio State University. You're just seeing some of the personnel on their staff, and I just can't say enough about Monty Williams, man. So many people talk about this guy as a character guy. Obviously, he's a great, great person and what have you, and worked under Popovich and others. But the job that he is doing as head coach of the Phoenix Suns cannot go unnoticed. Think about what we were saying about this team before he arrived. They were on a fast track to nowhere. We were lamenting the fact that Devin Booker had to sign a long-term deal there to make sure he got his money, et cetera, et cetera. And look, in just a year and a half or so there, look at the job that this man is doing along with his coaching staff in the Phoenix Suns. I ain't gonna lie to you. I'm very proud. I'm very, very proud of what I'm seeing from those brothers down in Phoenix. Up in Phoenix, rather.
No question. No question, guys. The Suns haven't been in the postseason in a decade. I think that's going to change this season. That's in the standing after that win to second last night. Guys, let's talk about the Celtics. It looks like they could be turning things around a little bit. They also had a big win last night, taking down the Clippers by 5. They're now on a 3-game win streak. Jason Tatum dropping 40. Kemba looking like Kemba again, dropping 34. Stephen A., how are you feeling about Boston now?
You know what? I'm feeling a hell of a lot better. They've beaten Indiana, Washington, and the Clippers.
Yeah, you are.
So I'm feeling a lot better about them. They needed to step up, and that's exactly what they're doing. Remember, we never lamented them from a talent perspective. We know that Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum are studs. And we know that even though Paul George had a big game, he didn't have a big game in the fourth quarter, A. And B, more importantly, it was primarily because of Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown and the way they defended against him, because he shot like 1 for 11 against them and was lights out against everybody else. So those brothers deserve a lot of credit. But Kemba Walker's got to get most of the credit. He hit 25, and what Max and I both lamented last week was the fact that he clearly was not healthy. His knee has been bothering him. We know what Kemba Walker can do when he's healthy. Here's the thing. We pointed the finger at Brad Stevens, or at least I did, and you're damn right, I ain't apologizing for it, because at the time, he deserved it. You got to find the pulse of the team and peel out whatever's necessary. Now, whatever has happened since he's been on the hot seat, it ain't just the players that has responded. It's Brad Stevens who has responded. Never questioned his basketball acumen, never questioned his know-how, never questioned the fact that he had a winning record. Remember, they went to the playoffs the last 4 years, and 3 of the last 4 years they were in the conference finals. We can't sneeze at the job that Brad Stevens has done. The problem is what he was doing up until a week ago was very unimpressive, and it looked like the team was going in the wrong direction. And if you're going to point the finger at anybody else, why the hell should he get let off the hook? But ever since that noise was percolating, particularly after they lost to Atlanta, and Gallinari gave them 38 for crying out loud, we saw Brad Stevens be more demonstrative in his post-game interview than ever before, and ever since then, they win in basketball games. So major props to him, because whatever modifications that needed to be made, clearly he has made them as a coach as well. Whatever conversations he may have had, whatever motivational tactics he may have employed, whatever you want to point to, Brad Stevens has stepped up. But damn it, he needed to step up based on the way they were looking. And props to him for doing so thus far.
No, I totally disagree. And this just goes back to, like, here's some new evidence, and you and I are exactly on the opposite side of it still. I don't think it's about Brad Stevens, Stephen A. We both knew last week that this season Kemba hadn't been Kemba. That's the bottom line. And Danny Ainge put a roster together heavily reliant on Kemba being that playmaker in the backcourt in order to make it a real big three on offense. Now, you can talk about defensive effort, and I can point to the fact that it's still going to get better when Marcus Smart gets back, and he hasn't been there. But that also affected the offense, because even if he's not a dynamic offensive player, he can play in the backcourt. He can play your point. So no Marcus Smart and no real Kemba Walker. And Kemba is too much of a leader to make excuses. Even ask him now, hey, are you feeling better? He won't even tell you, yeah, that's the reason. No, he says he's playing better. He's not going to give you excuses. It's one of the things that makes him a real leader and a guy that they wanted in that locker room. But he wasn't Kemba Walker. And how does that affect the defense? Stephen A., we don't have to like it, but we know it's reality. And in fact, I'm sure you have mentioned this on the air in the past, because everyone knows it in basketball. If you want a big man to play defense, what do you have to do if he runs the floor? You got to feed him. You got to feed him to get him to go on the other end, right? Like, people understand this. And that goes really for teams in a lot of respects. It shouldn't be this way. You should find the resolve to play defense even when the offense isn't working, and good defense can lead to better offense. But the reality is, when the offense is flat and things aren't going your way, it can take the energy out on the other end. Kemba Walker looks like Kemba Walker again. So now the offense is clicking again. And so now the defense is being played with more intensity. This was always, in my estimation, a Kemba Walker not being Kemba Walker issue, and secondarily, not having Marcus Smart. Oh, and by the way, I'll say it again as I said it last week. Time Lord needs more minutes. Look what happens when this dude is on the floor. He can really play. My feeling about the Celtics is exactly as it was. They need a healthy Kemba Walker, period. They got him now, it looks like.
Well, first of all, let me say this. Kemba Walker all of a sudden didn't get healthy the last 3 games. He's got 32, 21, and 25 points over the last 3 games. He didn't all of a sudden get healthy. The reality of the situation is that you had to figure out a way, whether it was to motivate him, get him to motivate other people. Whatever needed to be done was done. Thus far, anyway, and that's why I say I'm still not backing off of what I had to say about Brad Stevens. Nobody said he couldn't coach. Nobody said he didn't have a resume. Nobody said that he deserved to be fired or anything like that. What we said was, excuse me, Brad Stevens, this is what the expectation is for a team with this level of talent. And I don't give a damn Kemba Walker or no Kemba Walker. With Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, you have no business being a below 500 team in the National Basketball Association with those 2 studs on the court for you. You just don't. And so as a result, even though Kemba Walker has stepped up and he's playing better, and we appreciate that, the reality of the situation is it doesn't change what we saw. It doesn't change what our demands are of Brad Stevens being in Boston. There are expectations that come along with being with this team. You could lose in the playoffs, but you got to be formidable and you got to be a threat. You can't be a below 500 team, which at the time was a worse team than the New York Knicks. There's no excuse for that. And so even though Kemba Walker getting 32, 21, and 25 over the last 3 games is sort of resurrecting himself, even though he's still fighting those knee injuries, and we understand it because we know what he can do when he's healthy, the bottom line is that still doesn't absolve Brad Stevens from what he has to do. If you go to any coach, any quality coach in the NBA, and you say, here's Jason Tatum, and Jaylen Brown, nobody wants to hear an excuse as to why you're below 500. That's why we were having the discussion about Brad Stevens. It wasn't some long-term thing or anything like that. We were looking at the Celtics and we were like, yo, they're below 500. No excuse for that.
Well, look, put it this way. You could always say, like, is Brad Stevens a perfect coach? No. Is it legitimate to say, hey, you still got enough to be more competitive than, right, no one's perfect, but to be more competitive than you are? Yes, that is a legitimate point to make. My point is, what is the top point? Like, what's the reason if you have to pinpoint one? Is it Brad Stevens? No, it's Kemba Walker's health. And Stephen A., you said, I mean, like, just look what happened. You can watch him move. He's obviously moving better than he was. He's obviously more healthy than he was. And lo and behold, as you mentioned, 32, 25, and they're starting to win. And in fact, when you say, did he suddenly get healthy? No, he gradually got healthy. He had the procedure right in the offseason, and at first it was no good, and little by little he's regained his health. And in fact, what I think we're seeing, knock wood, is that over the last week or so, he's feeling much closer, if not back to his normal self. And here we go. So could Stevens do a better? Everyone could do a better job when you're losing. But if you want to say what's the reason they're losing, they didn't have Kemba. They got him now, and they're winning.
Yeah. Well, they didn't play. He didn't play against Atlanta either when they got shellacked, and that was really the final straw where everybody was concerned. So I get your point there.
All right, we'll leave it there. Right now, they're fourth in the East, as you guys just saw. When we come back, we have some. In an appearance on the Dan Patrick Show, NFL Network reporter Jane Slater said that Dak Prescott and his representatives are looking for Prescott's new long-term contract, listen to this, to come in right behind Patrick Mahomes. You all know what Patrick Mahomes was paid, right? She said that Prescott and his representatives are looking for a respectable offer. A respectable gentleman joining us now. That will be you, Marcus Spears. So put a smile on your face. Don't know if you got a delay.
What's up, James Harden?
Good to see you.
What's up, James Harden? How you
Why
doing, bro?
is he James? Oh, because the beard?
How you doing, man?
You are unreal. That's actually pretty funny, Stephen A.
You know what I'm saying?
I'm gonna save it. I'm saving it, Molly. But trust me, before I
need all these laughs. I need all of them. So keep them coming. I'm just happy that my return's actually working now, so I can see Stephen A. smiling like the Cheshire Cat right now. He's having the best time from the joke.
Molly, I just didn't know. I just didn't know Harden was a pastor. I didn't know.
You mean Stephon or Kale? Molly,
when's the Netflix special?
We're going to refer to Stephen A. as Stephon.
I'm with you. I like it.
Kale from now on.
Listen. He's got a lot. Stephen A's got a lot of personalities. That's all I got to say. So I'm with Stephon. All right, guys. Big fan of Dak Prescott. I think he should get paid, all seriousness. Right behind Mahomes, according to what Jane Slater here said from NFL Network. Max, what do you think? Is Dak overplaying his hand?
I do think so at this point. And I got to say, he's got Jerry over a barrel. Like, given the cap hit that's going to occur even this year with a franchise tag, let alone next year with a franchise tag, how can they really franchise him a third year, 53 or 54 million? Given all of that, he could get 40 million a year. But Mahomes signed a 10-year, the total value of the contract. Obviously, not all of that is guaranteed. The total value is like 10 years, $500 million. So even if what Dak means is he wants to have the second biggest contract, it's not going to be right behind Mahomes. It should be way behind Mahomes. Because if you pay Dak as though he's Mahomes, more or less, you're going to hamstring your franchise. Dak is I would say, a very good quarterback. I would not call him a great quarterback. I would say he could evolve into a great quarterback. He could be trending in that direction, right? We just missed a year. So, who knows what would have happened this year? But there's a good chance that he could actually achieve greatness one day. Mahomes was great, as probably the best I've ever seen since the moment he started. If you look at Deshaun Watson's contract, 4 years, what is it, 158, almost 160 million. if Dallas wants to give Dak a 5-year deal so they have room to restructure or whatever else they need to do and mess with their cap, okay, Dak is going to be around the $40 million mark at this point because he's got so much leverage with the Cowboys. But if he's looking for more than that, and I don't think the Cowboys can give it to him and still think they're going to be competitive. This is not the same thing as Kansas City where, like, we have a Super Bowl dynasty maybe. We need to keep this dude. And by the way, they got him under market, really. This is a team that has a lot of holes to fill. And if they're going to spend over $40 million a year on a quarterback who's not great, they're not going to be able to fill those holes.
You know, we can talk about Dak overplaying his hand all we want to, and I'm not going to even refute that because I think when you're talking about getting paid Patrick Mahomes money and you only got one playoff win on your resume and 2 playoff appearances, I don't think anybody could argue with that. What I could say in response to that, Max, is I don't give a damn. It's such a thing as bringing it on yourself. And that's what Jerry Jones has done. Because you know something gets interesting when you look at the long laundry list of contracts Jerry Jones has signed people to. Ezekiel Elliott, you paid him market value. The offensive linemen, the Zach Martins of the world and others, you paid them market value. Amari Cooper, you paid him market value. Jalen Smith, you paid him market value. And so if you're Dak Prescott, you're saying, wait a minute, you've been playing hardball with me since the moment I arrived in this league. Tony Romo had back issues. He clearly was looking to walk out the door sooner than later. I show up from Mississippi State. I'm flat out balling as a preseason quarterback. I'm here. I'm young. I'm vibrant. I'm ready to perform. I'm showing that I can do the job for you. And then I go into the regular season and I perform. You still didn't want to give me props. You were still ready to hand that job back to Tony Romo at a moment's notice. Even after he retired, I'm here for 4 years. I don't miss a game. I make back page news when I miss a practice. That's how reliable and dependable I was. And still, you were resistant to taking care of me. The Colin Kaepernick situation comes about, and it's a maelstrom of controversy. Why? Because Colin Kaepernick has taken a knee. Jerry Jones decides to put his face on Front Street and let everybody know you will take a knee if you are a member of the Dallas Cowboys. You will do this and you will do that. I basically don't give a damn about social justice issues. This is where I stand, and anybody wearing this uniform, that's where we gonna stand. He has a business meeting where he announces it to the team. This is not a football meeting. This is a business meeting. And when you do this, it compromises my bottom line. And if you compromise my bottom line, I'm going to compromise your bottom line. And who was the person that never said a word, that supported his stance, that supported the organization? Despite the controversy and the plethora of people aiming their shrapnel of criticism in the direction of the Dallas Cowboys, your quarterback stood front and center and represented you in an incredibly reputable and impressive fashion. Did you still take care of him? No. Meanwhile, back in Minnesota or Washington before that, we got a guy like Kirk Cousins franchising himself day after day after day, guaranteeing himself years and years of money. I mean, 1 year after another, all of a sudden, this dude is guaranteed, will have received $192 million in guaranteed dollars by the time 2022 arrives. So you're Dak Prescott. You're looking internally. You're looking externally. You're seeing everybody maximize their market value, and then Jerry Jones wants to come to you and say, not when it comes to you. Not when it comes to quarterback, linebackers, offensive linemen, running backs, wide receivers. We'll take care of everybody else. We'll watch other teams take care of their quarterback, but we won't do it for you. Why? Nobody has asked Jerry Jones this one question. Why Dak Prescott? Because I've said it 1,000 times, and I'll say it 1,001. If this were Tony Romo, does anybody doubt that a deal would have been done already? Anybody? You can't find anybody that would sit up there and say, nah, it would be the same for Tony Romo. It would not. And as much as I love Tony Romo, who's an exceptional analyst and what have you, and damn good quarterback, by the way, when he was a member of the Dallas Cowboys, he has 2 playoff victories on his entire resume. That's it. That's it. But he would have been taken, but he would have been, well, it was one more, but Dak Prescott only been there for 4 years. That brother was there for 9 or 10. The bottom line is, if you would have done it for Tony Romo, why not Dak Prescott? And that's what I love about these demands that Dak Prescott is making. Because what it's doing is, it's going to get Jerry Jones out of hiding. And somewhere along the way, he's going to get in front of those cameras. And somebody is going to ask this man the question, why Dak? Why him? And that is the question that we need Jerry Jones in front of the camera answering. Why Dak Prescott? And that's why I love the fact that Dak Prescott is doing this, because he's forcing Jerry's hand, and Jerry's going to have to speak and justify why he's doing this with Dak Prescott all these years, not just now.
So the question is Dak overplaying his hand? And Max, you think so? Stephen A., obviously you don't think so, but I don't think this is a topic that we need to argue about, fellas. The bottom line is, and Max, you're wrong. He's not overplaying his hand, because if I was your friend and you were going to a poker tournament and I saw you had pocket aces before they pulled out the draw, I'm saying, Max, stand firm, hold tight. We have as good of a chance to win this particular hand or this particular game as much as anybody else on this table, including the house. That is where Dak Prescott sits right now. Regardless of if Dallas says, okay, forget it, we're not giving you a contract. It'll be 20-something odd teams that will. It'll be teams in desperation to get Dak Prescott in case the Dallas Cowboys are ready to let him walk or play this franchise tag for 1 year for $37 million, which is not that far away from 40. And no, I'm not saying Dak Prescott is worth 40. Dak Prescott is worth whatever somebody's going to pay him the highest amount of dollars to play the quarterback position. That may not be the Dallas Cowboys. And everyone has to be okay with that, because it seems like Dak Prescott and his agent Todd France and his brother Tad Prescott are perfectly fine with playing under this franchise tag and then moving on to see where the money resides. That's what the issue is. So yes, he's not overplaying his hand, because like we talked about leverage, Dak Prescott has a tremendous amount of leverage. And in the NFL, and you both have heard me say this time after time, hold on, Max. In the NFL, when it comes to players, just like in the NBA or the major leagues or any other professional league, your leverage is created by how good you are and how bad that team is without you. And we all know that the Dallas Cowboys have nowhere to turn to have a successful season if Dak Prescott is not their quarterback. Unless you saying I'm getting Russell Wilson or I'm going to go get Deshaun Watson. You are just laying in the weeds.
This is what I'm talking about, Marcus.
Go ahead.
This is what I want to say. First of all, Stephen A., keep banging that drum. I think it's an important drum to bang, and people need to hear it. So I'm with you on that sentiment. But specifically, whether or not, you like it or we like it that he's doing this to Jerry and putting him front and center and making him answer, is he overplaying his hand? Now, what gave Dak more leverage? What gave him more leverage, because these things are constantly changing, was they stunk without him, and Andy Dalton looked like a pretty good backup. They couldn't do anything. So Dak said, no, I got real value. Oh, it's not just the offensive line or the weapons. A lot of this has to do with me. That gave him real leverage. And the other thing is the NFC East is terrible with no quarterbacks. So they have a real chance to host playoff games for the foreseeable future if they get Dak. There's Dak's leverage. What's the Cowboys' leverage? Because things have changed again. Russell Wilson put the Cowboys on his list, and it was a short list of teams that he would accept a trade to. Deshaun Watson is also, he'd like to be traded, but Russell Wilson in particular comes with not such a heavy price tag and probably cheaper to get than Deshaun in terms of what you have to trade. Well, that swings things a little bit. So you know what that means for Dak, guys? That means in terms of not overplaying his hand, will he get $40 million plus from another team? Maybe, but you know what that's going to take? It's going to take a team with the cap flexibility, right? They're going to have the room. Usually those teams aren't ready to win. But why would you sign Dak if you're not ready to win? It's going to be a quarterback-needy team that needs a good quarterback to put him over the top. There aren't that many teams like that.
See, when you prioritize being an intellectual and showing the world how much you know, sometimes you miss something. And here's where you miss something when it comes to Dak Prescott. Who's to say he's asking for the $40 million from everybody? It might just be for Jerry because he has an issue with Jerry. Whereas if he went somewhere else, he might be willing to make to accept the $37 million, the $35 million, the $38 million.
Possible.
It doesn't matter. It's the fact that that man has treated him in such a way. If you got a boss, Max, that treated you great, you might give him a discount. But if you felt he treated you disrespectfully, your demands on him might be stiffer.
I'm with it. He's overplaying his hand if he wants to be a cowboy, it seems to me. If he wants to get paid
we gotta
more or less
go.
like Mahomes.
I can 100%
All right,
agree with you
Marcus, I don't
on
understand
that.
why you only visit us
may
for
be.
one block these days, but that's what it is. Marcus will be on NFL Live later. Dak's
See you,
QBR of
Pastor Harden.
69.7 is the same as Deshaun Watson. And the Hall of
All right,
Famer, Joe
Stephon.
Montana's waiting, so we got to... During his 16 seasons in the NFL, Joe Montana won 4 Super Bowls with the Niners and then led the Chiefs to the AFC Championship game. He's an 8-time Pro Bowler, a 2-time NFL MVP, and a 3-time Super Bowl MVP. Stephen A. Smith, you love resumes. How is that for resumes? Let's welcome in Joe, who's here on behalf of Fan-Controlled Football. Joe Montana, good morning. Great to have you with us here on First Take.
Thank you for having me. How's everybody this morning?
We're great. Thank you for being on the show.
We're all good. We're good. All
great to
right,
see
Joe,
you.
you know where I'm starting. With the Niners, with the quarterback situation. So Niners GM John Lynch was asked about Jimmy Garoppolo, if he's healthy, does he have any doubt that he's the guy? And he said 0 doubt. At the same time, our Adam Schefter has told us 18 teams are looking at potentially changing their quarterback this offseason, which is just bonkers. What was your reaction to John Lynch's answer?
I think you always have to be behind the players, and who knows what's going on behind the scenes. It's been tough. It's been tough for him staying healthy throughout the time he's been with the 49ers, and I think that becomes a concern if you can't keep him on the field. And I think it's a tough decision with the cap money that he has against him, and so I don't know. You just never know. I never knew they were trying to trade me, but I guess they were too. So you never know what's going on behind the scenes back there.
Well, he's definitely won more than this year of games when he's been in the starting lineup. Clearly, durability is his issue. Is that, even though he's missed some games, he did take him to a Super Bowl the year before that. Is that enough? The concerns that they have right now that you believe they probably should move on because durability is such a question mark with him, even though he's still relatively young?
My guess is they because of his age, they'll keep him. And they give him another chance at it. This is just my feeling. I stay away from down there. I stay away from football at this point. But I think like you said, Stephen A., when he's in there, they've had pretty good success in winning, and I think they just try to keep him healthy and see what they can get from there. And if it continues along this way, then I would imagine they try to make a change because it's hard to get any kind of consistency offensively without with moving quarterbacks around in and out, no matter what they say. It's hard to do.
Joe, a couple things Molly left off the resume was not only were you 4-0 in the Super Bowl, but you threw 13 touchdowns to 0 interceptions in the Super Bowl. And unlike a lot of great players who simply remain themselves and great under pressure, you consistently got even better when the stakes were the highest. You were one of those clutch players, in fact, not just by reputation, of all time. And insofar as there was ever a consensus that there was a GOAT among quarterbacks before Brady, it was you. Joe Montana was the guy, it seems, that Tom Brady has now replaced as the consensus GOAT. How do you feel about that? Is there a GOAT in the NFL? Was it you? Has Brady replaced you?
I think Tom has, taken his place on the top up there a long time ago. So he's had a tremendous career. It's fun to watch. And, everybody always contests over that. But I think if you look what Tom's been able to accomplish in his time that he's played, I think is, puts him definitely up there in the top of the list. There's a lot of great guys. As I said before me, even, you go back to Otto Graham, who won 10 or 11 championships. So It's hard to compare them, but if you're looking at it, yeah, definitely Tom at that point.
Joe Montana, you know me well enough because I've interviewed you before. You know how I do. I got to ask you a question because I got something on my mind personally, Joe Montana. I want you to harken back to the Green Bay Packers, okay, in that NFC Championship game. And I understand that Aaron Rodgers could have ran for the first down, if not a touchdown, on that third down. But that fourth down play, when they took the ball out of his hands, okay, and elected to give the ball back to Tom Brady. I got to ask this question, Joe Montana. How did you feel about that decision, and how would you feel if the ball in a fourth down had been taken out of your hands and given back to Tom Brady?
Yeah, I don't know how you do that. At that point in the season, you've worked so hard to get to where you are. It's hard to get there. And you got an opportunity to give the NFL MVP a chance to win the game for you. And, I didn't understand that decision at the time. Everybody's, your chances of getting the ball back, but no, that the way that the Tampa Bay was playing at the time, you can't give Brady the ball anytime, and especially in a clutch situation like that, he's going to perform. So I tried to go and score the touchdown. Yeah, that's just I'm an offensive player speaking, but and a quarterback, you always want the ball in your hand, and I'm sure Aaron was probably I guarantee you he feels the same way, if not worse, because it happened to him. But I'm with you.
Joe, in a hard cap league, in a hard cap league, you got to rob Peter to pay Paul. If a quarterback's getting X, then another player's getting Y, and it's less than it would have been if the quarterback gets what more of the money. And we have all these quarterbacks now in the explosion of their salaries. Patrick Mahomes, $500 million over 10 years, obviously not all guaranteed. Deshaun Watson, and now Dak wants to get paid as though he's Patrick Mahomes. We know he's not quite Patrick Mahomes. What is your feeling about Dak and the Cowboys situation right now? Do the Cowboys just have to roll over and give him the money?
Well, I think you got it. I mean, he's obviously proven he can play at a high level at that position, and I think Mike gives him an opportunity to become a little bit different quarterback and understanding, because Mike McCarthy was with us with the 49ers and then again the Chiefs, and so I know his understanding of the position and how he feels, and I think if you give someone like that a little bit more structure to an offense and understanding that, I think you're going to see the player everybody wants to see. And yeah, I mean, I think does he deserve Mahomes' numbers? Not sure about that, but there's a lot of guys up there making a lot of money that's not playing anywhere near as well as he had been playing.
That's for sure. All right, Joe, tell us about fan-controlled football. What's the deal with that?
Yeah, these guys came to me with this idea, and the fans are always talking about, should have done this, should have done that. And what a better way to do it, right? They've got, right now there's 4 teams, and it's called fan-controlled football. You can find out a lot more. You can become a part of it by going to the website, fcf.io, and you can actually call the plays and be a part of the offense, and you can't say, well, you should have done this, should have done that, and you're graded by your picks. And if they continue to work, you get higher points, you get more leverage on your pick, and they stream it on Twitch, on the website or on their app, and Ben TV every Saturday. This is I think last week was week 3, and they had over 800,000 viewers that watched. So that's a lot of people on that. So somebody's doing something right. And they actually are even giving the fans now had a chance to go in and be part of the ownership of the team. So they're letting the fans control this whole thing. And I know it's been pretty fun to watch. And is it the NFL? No, but I think what happens is it keeps a lot of, especially the skilled guys, gives them an opportunity to continue to play and hone those skills and be seen. Especially the receivers, defensive backs, and quarterbacks, and that. I think it's probably the best for them.
Listen, sounds like a lot of fun, especially for fans. Another way to be involved and connected to football. We always welcome that with open arms. All right, the Hall of Famer Joe Montana, thank you so much for the time.
Thank you all for the time. Appreciate it.
No problem.
All right.
See you, Joe.
Take care. Coming up on First Take, James Harden returning to H-Town. Should Rockets fans show Harden love tonight? And Aaron Rodgers, cover your ears. What should Rodgers think of their GM saying they won't? That's at 7. All right, Joel, you just heard me. James Harden returning to H-Town tonight to face his former team after signing with the Brooklyn Nets in January. Although the breakup from the Rockets after his 8-year tenure wasn't particularly pretty, but what breakup is? James Harden joined the Rockets in 2012, and in his 8+ seasons there, became the franchise's all-time leader in assists, three-pointers, and free throws, and only Hakeem Olajuwon scored more points. Harden led the Rockets to 8 straight playoff berths, including 2 trips to the conference finals. Here's what he had to say about his return.
Love and the appreciation that I've given to that city, and that I still give to that city. I'm hoping that the favor can be returned. You know, I thought I would never leave that franchise. I thought I was going to be Houston, obviously, for the rest of my career. Things happen. You know, I had different goals, and, you know, I seen a different vision for myself, my career, my family.
Stephen A., let me ask you this. Do you think Rockets fans should show James Harden love tonight?
I think Max has to go first on this, Molly, because I want to wait. I want to wait to give my answer here. Go ahead, Max.
Yes, they should show him love. James Harden made that franchise a perennial powerhouse. Now, he didn't show up big in the playoffs, which is why even though his regular season numbers are like Kobe Bryant or LeBron James, because he didn't perform in the playoffs and lead his team to the promised land as Kobe and LeBron have repeatedly, he is not thought of with those guys. And that's fair. He shouldn't be. You have to be Kobe or LeBron to get a big reception? Now, eventually he forced his way out of town. He kind of played his way out, right? Should the city boo him for that? Think about what it takes to win a championship. We think, Stephen A., if AD is not 100%, the Nets have a really good chance to win the championship. It's James Harden, Kyrie Irving, and Kevin Durant, and shooters, and like everything you want, and we think there's a good chance they can win a championship. It is so hard to win a title, and for whatever reason, the state of Texas has not been seen by free agents, potential free agents, as a desirable enough or glamorous enough location for them to sign. The Rockets and the Mavs have had a hard time attracting, you know, A-level superstars, which is odd to me because it's warm weather, relatively glamorous, maybe not as much as New York or LA or Miami, but it's a relatively glamorous destination. As you always point out, Stephen A., no state income tax. Like, how much do you want? And yet, the Mavs and the Rockets have a hard time. Maybe it's because the Cowboys loom so large in that state that you always play second fiddle. I don't know what it is. But the fact is, James Harden was in a situation where he never really had quite enough. In spite of that, they came really close. And yes, he choked. If Harden would have played better, maybe they'd win the championship. But they came closer than they should have based on the talent they had, and a lot of that had to do with James Harden. And finally, Stephen A., the fans have to realize, while if they boo Harden, if they don't give him a good welcome back return, a reception, they may be thinking they're making commentary on Harden, but really the rest of the league it's commentary on themselves. Is that the kind of place that you want to play? When a dude has done as much for an organization as Harden has, and they treat him that way. I think it's even in their own best self-interest to give Harden a good welcome.
Well, we go away from the purposes of this show, Max Kellerman, because we don't disagree. I don't believe that Harden deserves to be booed. I want to make sure I'm very clear about that. But I do believe he will be. I don't think he deserves it. I don't think somebody that averaged 37 minutes a game in 8+ seasons for that team, that averaged 29, 7, and 6 in that span and took them to the playoffs every single year, not to mention coming out of his own pocket in terms of millions of dollars that he donated to causes to help with relief efforts and things of that nature with some of the catastrophes that they've had to deal with. He's been a model citizen, not to mention a great, great player. for the franchise. And in that regard, he does not deserve to be booed. And I hope that he's not. But I must confess to you, I would be shocked if he's not booed, at least by some in attendance. Now, obviously, when you take into account his off-court philanthropic efforts and things of that nature, it's pretty hard to do anything negative towards him, and they shouldn't. From a basketball perspective, though, I can't knock them if they do boo him in this regard. He departs. He shows up. He's not in shape. It clearly is on purpose because he doesn't want to be there. Fair enough. Now that he's gone, they're one of the worst teams in basketball. His exit has basically plummeted the entire franchise. They are on a 12-game losing streak. They are in basketball purgatory right now. They're clearly one of the worst teams in the NBA. And there's no way around it. And I feel my heart goes out to Stephen Silas, who waited 20 years as an assistant to become a head coach, and this is what he's saddled with. John Wall is averaging 20-6. Christian Wood is averaging 22-10. Victor Oladipo hasn't been that great. He doesn't want to be there anyway. It's just not a good situation right now. But that also has something to do with James Harden. You wanted Dwight Howard, and then you didn't. You wanted Chris Paul, and then you didn't. You wanted to play with Russell Westbrook, and then y'all didn't want to play with one another. And along the way, they gave up assets. They don't do that if it were not for James Harden. So even though James Harden is absolutely phenomenal in every sense of the word as far as I'm concerned, and I don't view him as a person that choked in the postseason. He averaged 28, even though his numbers were down compared to what we're accustomed to seeing him doing in the regular season, if you want to use that as to describe it, but I don't consider that choking. In the end, what I'm saying is the ultimate indictment they will make against him if they choose to boo him is the fact that having to make a deal to send him to Brooklyn and garner assets in return because they had given them away in previous deals just to get him the assets that he had asked for. Those are the kind of things that people who know something about basketball in Houston may tend to hold against him, because the state of affairs that exists now is primarily because they tried to give him everything he said he needed in order for them to elevate to another level. He wasn't wrong in doing that. He thought it gave them a best chance to go for the chip. He was right to do so, but it doesn't mean that they're going to interpret it that way. And that's why I'm fearful they're probably going to, some people anyway, are going to boo him.
That's reasonable. And it's fair to say. The only thing I would say is that when Golden State put that team together, Stephen A., with KD and Steph and Clay and Dre, and they had everybody, what are you going to do? Like, he had a good GM, a great GM, I think, in Houston. But once you're facing a team like that, what are you supposed to do? For example, Daryl Morey's done a great job in Philly, surrounding Simmons and Embiid with shooters. Look at the difference it's made. And yet, if you ask you or me or anyone, you really think they're going to beat the Nets when it comes down to it? Nah, man. KD and Kyrie and Harden, it's just too much. So all I'm saying is, if Fertitta and the fans, like this goes from ownership to fans, want to be the kind of place where players want to come together, consider the way you treat a dude like Harden when he returns. That makes a difference.
Well, that's fair. Remember, Daryl Morey doesn't have final say in Philadelphia. It's Elton Brand and Doc Rivers, too.
Here's the good news. Stephen A., you're pregame for this game, so you can talk about it more then. And Max, you have the Max Kellerman Show, so you got 2 hours to talk about this. So plenty more with these two later in the day. Aaron Rodgers, guys, we got... Well, this is going to be a fun discussion. The Green Bay Packers are dealing with cap restraints that could lead to free agency dilemmas going into the 2021 season. Here's what Brian Gutekunst had to say about how the team will deal with it all.
We won't be able to do a lot, and I do think that there's certainly some restrictions, but if the right guy's there, I think we'd be able to do what we need to do.
Well. Stephen A. Last year was tough. Aaron Rodgers was looking for some help, and they drafted what? Quarterback. Now this year, I'm hearing that they're not really going to make a big splash. I just want to know what you think of all this.
No, I'm so surprised. I'm stunned. Aren't y'all stunned? I mean, aren't we shocked? I mean, we're shocked, and you're just thrown aback, just taken aback. I mean, my God, the Green Bay Packers are not going to be major players in free agency. They're not going to be able to do but so much in free agency to help Aaron Rodgers. I'm so shocked I mean, I'm about ready to faint, Max Kellerman. I didn't know this was possible. I mean, I thought for sure they were just going to draft another first rounder, a wide receiver. Don't they do that all the time? Don't they do that all the time? I mean, I thought they were going to get a premier tight end. I mean,
what's he going to do with another first-round wide receiver?
Exactly. That tight end out of Florida.
Just get
that
another quarterback.
I thought they were going to get him. I mean, who are they going to get? I mean, the Green Bay Packers are not going to make major noise in free agency. I'm so stunned. I mean, this never happened before. I mean, every single year, they just throw one weapon after another to Aaron Rodgers. They do everything they can to appease him, to make him happy, to make sure that he is surrounded with the pieces and the parts that he needs to excel and ascend and ultimately get them over that proverbial hump so they can get back to the Super Bowl for the first time since 2010. They're always looking out for Aaron Rodgers. Of course, they're an organization. It's not just about him. It's about all of us, and we're going to do everything that we can because we know he's the ringleader. We know he's the superstar. We know he's the creme de la creme, and we got to take care of our man. Of course, they're going to do that. We know better. We know who they are. Aaron Rodgers to them is just another player until he hints about wanting to leave or he hints about being happy, and they have to contemplate life without him. Then they get serious for a second to recognize the fact that they ain't just Aaron Rodgers waiting at the next door. I don't give a damn if his name is Jordan Love or Love Jordan or anything else in between. It don't matter. The fact of the matter is Aaron Rodgers, that bad man that he is, needs all the help that he can get, and the Green Bay Packers don't have a history of giving it to him. That's really what it comes down to. So it's more of the same. I'm not surprised. Last year when he threw for the Tavon Austin, Aaron Rodgers had thrown 2 passes to a first-round pick at the wide receiver spot for the first time in his career. For the first time in his career. This is what we're dealing with here when we talk about the Green Bay Packers. They know what they're doing. They know what they're doing to stay competitive. They know what they're doing to stay relevant. They know what they're doing to field a competitive team and to go out there and to say, we got a chance. But when it comes to doing what it takes to get over the hump and really going for it and delivering the goods, similar to what Tampa Bay did last year, that's not in Green Bay's DNA. And they don't give a damn if Aaron Rodgers suffered because their attitude is shut up and play. That's how they treat him. That's how they've been treating him. And it's a damn shame. But I'm not surprised.
Well, I mean, first of all, they can't afford free agents right now. They're in a cap mess. So, and they're going to have to restructure guys and do all kinds of stuff to bring in a free agent. The question is the question is the draft. You know, and in the previous draft, look, for Jordan Love for them to be able to justify drafting Jordan Love when they were a 13-win team who'd beaten Seattle in the playoffs, right? They had a playoff win, 13 wins. By the way, Mike McCarthy wasn't it. Aaron Rodgers got LaFleur as his new coach, 13 wins that year as Rodgers is figuring it out, you know? And now you're thinking, oh boy, if he's just figuring it out as sort of a game manager because he has to understand the new offense, what's going to happen when he really gets it? And there was a chance to get him a first-round wideout for the first time ever, Stephen A., really, as you point out. And they didn't do it. They drafted a quarterback. Well, that guy's got to make the Hall of Fame now. Like Jordan Love's got no pressure, but you got picked in the first round instead of giving Rodgers a receiver who just won 13 games. That said, Stephen A., a little tough to really get too hard with the Packers when they won 13 games again. I mean, a lot of that's Rodgers, but yeah, that's part of what Rodgers allows you to do. It allows you to save over here and over there and have a more well-rounded team because Rodgers can cover up for some of the deficiencies on offense and even make you really good on offense without the same stuff other people need. And so they win 13 games again, and this time they're in the NFC Championship game. And with the game on the line, a couple times, Rodgers didn't come through. And I'm talking now. Was it a blunder by LaFleur not to hand him back the ball? Of course, it was a blunder. It was also a blunder by Rodgers when he had daylight not to make a run for it. Maybe they score. Maybe they're on the 1-yard line. Then they'll go for it. I'm just saying right now, I can't criticize the Packers about not going for a free agent. They don't have the money. And now that they've drafted Jordan Love, I expect them to draft a wideout. They have draft capital now to go out and address needs. I think Rodgers right now is in a better position than he's been in years with the Packers. And the fact that they didn't play in the Super Bowl this season, Stephen A., is kind of on him. He makes the plays, they play in the Super Bowl. He'll have another really good chance at it this year, maybe even better than last year.
Well, I mean, you sound crazy from the standpoint that, listen, nobody's perfect. And you know what? I saw Tom Brady throw 3 interceptions in the second half of that NFC Championship game, if I remember correctly. That didn't mean that Bruce Arians was going to tell him to stop throwing the damn football. It didn't mean he was going to take the ball out of his hands. It didn't mean that if he was coaching against Tom Brady, he was going to give him an opportunity to give him the damn ball with a little bit over 2 minutes left, and all he needs is a first down or 2 to seal the deal. I mean, this is the kind of stuff that I'm talking about. So pointing about what Aaron Rodgers didn't do, I recall them being down 28-10. And Aaron Rodgers bringing them back and marching them downfield, okay? And the next thing you know, of course he could have ran for the first down, if not more, on that third down play. I get all of that, but guess what? There was still a fourth down to go. And Aaron Rodgers, here's the key. Aaron Rodgers said, hey, I never contemplated the fact that the ball would be taken out of my hands on fourth down. That's number one. And number two, Matt LaFleur admitted there was a miscommunication because he never communicated to Aaron Rodgers that he would take the ball out of his hands on fourth down. So I'm sorry. I'm out on the field.
Who would think that he would?
Exactly. The point
is
that the point is he did. Go. So why not tell him?
Yeah. Can I just ask you a really quick question? Who was the MVP this year? Because I forgot.
It was Aaron Rodgers.
Aaron Rodgers.
Oh, yeah, Aaron Rodgers. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Guess what I would do? I would run. And this show's not about my opinion. I'd be out. It's the GOAT Show. It's the greatest female UFC fighter of all time.
DraftKings app and sign up with promo code Octagon for your shot at $100,000 in prizes. Only on DraftKings.
Amanda Nunes is the reigning UFC women's bantamweight and featherweight champion. She's the first woman to become a 2-division UFC champion and the third fighter in UFC history to hold titles in 2 weight classes simultaneously. She's also the first and only fighter in UFC history to defend 2 titles while actively holding them and is widely considered to be the greatest women's MMA fighter of all time. We now welcome her to First Take in advance of UFC 259, where she'll be fighting Megan Anderson. Amanda, oi, tudo bem? That's the only Portuguese that I know. My best friend's from Brazil. That's all that I picked up. She'll be proud. She's watching. Thank you so much for being with us. And Max just said in the commercial break that you are the baddest woman on the planet. And you added another incredible feat, and that would be the birth of your daughter, now a mother in September. So tell me how that changed you.
You know, like, first of all, thank you for having me in. I'm very excited for this fight. You know, this is the first time I bring my daughter, and it's like been amazing. You know, she helped me a lot. She make me so happy and making me better every day at home. So my morning is all different now. You know, I wake up more happy than I used to. So everything was fine. You know, she's a very good baby. We put her in a schedule, you know, she eat in the right time, she sleepy, she have her nap time, everything scheduled. So she just a good baby. We lucky, you know, we go training, Nina watch her when I'm in the gym, and when it's Nina time, I watch her. So we have a very good schedule with the baby. So my camp was amazing. I was be able to sleep very well. So it's like, nothing's gonna stop me.
Amanda, thank you for being on the show, and I completely concur with Max Kellerman. You're the baddest female on the planet. There's no question about that in my mind. I remember I'm just watching you. You knocked out Ronda Rousey. You knocked out Chris Cyborg. You beat Holly Holm. You had some great victories in your illustrious career thus far. But people look at you, and now I'm hearing Molly's question about motherhood. I mean, is this a situation where you're closing in, or I mean, you're thinking about stopping sometime soon fighting, or do you see yourself doing it for quite a long time to come?
Honestly, now in my life is about to keep memory, you know, and having memory with my daughter is gonna be amazing. I want to be able, when she become a teenager or whatever, when she be able to realize things, I want to be able to show all these moments, you know, look, you was in this fight with your moms and everything, you know. I feel like in this moment in my career, I get everything that I want, you know, I become everything. I get all my dreams come true. And so now I just like change a little bit my life and do another things that I didn't even thought one day I'm gonna do. Have a baby, you know. I expect to have it maybe in the future, but it's not so early like it is right now. So I'm enjoying every single day. It was the best thing that I ever did, have a baby.
Amanda, because and congratulations, by the way,
Thank
because
you.
of the fact that Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is clearly the most influential fighting form in the history of mixed martial arts, and you are Brazilian. You know, when you hear about fighters from Brazil, you're expecting the grappling to be the story and the BJJ to be the story. And obviously you can handle yourself there. But the power, my God, and the hand speed, and not only that, but when you fight, a lot of people can strike, but you move your head offline more like a boxer, more like someone who has a background in boxing. That's what a lot of strikers don't do in MMA. Where does that come from? I know you boxed at a young age, but how did that happen in Brazil when BJJ is so big down there?
Yeah, I come from grappling. You know, I come from jiu-jitsu. So when I started like training for MMA, I have to start training boxing, training karate, training whatever is gonna make me like well around. So when I started like training the first couple punches, the coach was the first one tell me like, oh my God, you are grappling, but you can punch, you really can get this eventually good. So you just have to keep training, improve your game. So when he told me, I never stopped in that moment training boxing. You know, I started to get better and better and better. But one day I really saw what he told me was true. My fight against Julia, but I strike force. For that fight, it's like back in like 10 years ago, like almost 10 years ago, I was a grappling. You know, I was like straight training for take her down and then finish her on the floor. So I ended up knocking her out with a jab. And I look at my coach like, what is wrong? Like, I don't understand. So after that fight, I knew something even better is going to come together in my game. So I never stopped training, striking. And now, like, I have this power, I have this speed. I know how to use my reach very well. And I incorporate my strike very well in my game. So now I can really strike with anyone. And from that moment, if I feel some threat, I can take somebody down, I can finish it. So I'm a well-rounded, and my strike just grew with my strength, with everything in my body. Just was a natural thing. And training hard.
Amanda, I brought up some of the great victories that you've had in your career when I spoke earlier. I want to know at this particular juncture, at this particular point in your career, is there somebody that you particularly want very, very badly? Once upon a time, I mean, you know, again, Cyborg, people wanted her, you got her. People wanted Rousey, you got her. Here's a situation now where you're at the top of the heap and you're the target, but is there somebody you want, somebody you're targeting specifically that you want to beat very, very badly?
Honestly, no, have somebody really that I look for. I'm a champion. I have to keep defending my belt. You know, this is my job. You know, whatever UFC schedule for me next, I will face. So, yeah, whatever. Who wanna face me? I'm gonna be in my spot. You know, waiting for you. So, no matter what UFC wanna do, I'm ready to do.
Amanda, to Stephen A's point, Anderson is a credible opponent, but a big underdog. And the history of fighting has a lot of examples of dominant champions like you who get upset when they fought the big names, and now a fighter without the same kind of name comes up on their radar, and they can't get up for the fight as much. How do you guard against that?
You know, Megan is obviously a very dangerous opponent. She work hard for this moment. I feel like she deserves. So and I feel like for me, Megan is tall, you know, very tall, long, and that can give me like a little bit trouble in the fight. But I also have a lot of experience to fight with the girls taller than me. Holly Holmes was one. Germaine was very tall as well. So in the gym, I just switched my training partner. You know, I get like a tall guy to like really help me with my time and everything. So yeah, I feel like I'm ready. I feel like everything she has, I know, and I will capitalize and finish the fight. I feel like she's not ready yet to be a champion. I feel like she still have to go in a path for she be able to really realize how big this moment is.
Amanda, I just want to say quickly, it's Women's History Month, and one of my first jobs at ESPN way back when, 2007, was hosting our first MMA show, MMA Live, and then women weren't even allowed to fight. We didn't even know if they would be able to fight. And everything that you have accomplished, you are such an inspiration, now adding motherhood, and I'm so grateful we had you on the show. You have this infectious energy about you as well. Like, such a great spirit. It just comes through the screen. So thank you so much for the time, and we'll be rooting for you on Saturday.
Thank you, guys. I really appreciate it. I'm very happy to see you guys.
All the best.
Okay, be
luck,
safe.
champ.
Take care. All right, we got more UFC tomorrow on First Take. Unbeaten middleweight champion Israel Adesanya joining us live in advance of his bout at UFC 259 on Saturday. To the NFL we go. J.J. Watt ended his free agency run on Monday, announcing he will join the Arizona Cardinals in Tuesday's introductory press conference. With the team, he revealed the role quarterback Kyler Murray played in his decision-making. Take a listen.
I told him yesterday in a text, I said, I'm here because I believe in you. He's been a winner at every stage of his life. And that's not a coincidence.
Stephen A., point blank. Do you believe Watt?
No, he's lying. And I say that respectfully. I say that affectionately because I got a lot of love for J.J. Watt. But what I mean by that is this. You're going to the Cardinals because you believe in Kyler Murray? Well, then why the hell didn't you stay in Houston? Because we know you believe in Deshaun Watson. That's not the reason you went to Arizona. You went to Arizona because it's a better organization than the Houston Texans. You went to Arizona because it's probably going to be a better defense than the Houston Texans organization. You went to Arizona because you've got faith from an organizational perspective, the manner in which they're moving forward. You like that. DeAndre Hopkins is there talking to you about, what the organization is like and what their potential is. And oh, by the way, it doesn't hurt. I understand, Max. It's not a state with no state income tax. It's not one of the 9 states in America that doesn't have any state income taxes. But the taxes in Arizona are pretty low.
23 mil.
That's right. People. That's right. 23 million guaranteed. 2-year, $31 million. But people that's living in Arizona are usually people that want that California weather without the California taxes. So they move close enough to Arizona where the weather's not quite identical, but it's close enough. And it's only like a 45-minute flight to L.A. if you want to, but you don't have to be that far removed from the weather conditions that exist in Southern California. That's what that's about. Now, J.J. Watt, that's not the most popular thing to say. That's not the thing that makes headlines. That's not the thing that makes you say, it just touches your heartstrings. Nobody's going to do that. So it's all right to sit up there and say, I came here because I believe in Kyler Murray. Excuse me, playing with your brother, TJ and Derek in Pittsburgh, that wouldn't have been bad. Going to Green Bay with Aaron Rodgers, that wouldn't have been bad. But it's cold. It's cold in Lambeau Field. It's cold in Green Bay, Wisconsin. The only thing they got there is Aaron Rodgers and cheese. That's about it, okay? And Milwaukee's about an hour away or so, all right, with the Great Freak. And J.J. Watt, he ain't trying to travel that much. Bottom line is, all I'm saying, I'm not saying he doesn't believe in Kyler Murray, but don't tell me that's the reason he's there. I came here because I believe in you. Stop it. You believed in Deshaun Watson. You still left Houston. We understand what time it is. It's that weather. You understand? It's with the weather without the taxes, all right? And it's probably where you're going to plan on retiring and chilling out once your playing days are over. So why not go there and get stuff settled down so once you decide not to play, you don't have to be looking for a new crib in your retirement days. You can do that right now. That's what this is about. Ain't about no damn Kyler Murray.
No, I think you're wrong on this. Look, you're saying things that may be true. You can check that off. Good weather, or at least warm weather, and all that stuff. But will you stop with you should go play with TJ and the Pittsburgh Steelers? By the way, that's just pure homerism on your part.
Oh, you mean what you do with Big Blue and the Giants every day?
And you're trying to come up with a well, okay, fine. And when you call me out on it, I admit it.
Matt, you lost all credibility when you gave him a nickname. When you gave him a nickname, you called him Danny Dimes. you gave Daniel Jones a nickname.
If that ain't homerism, what is? Danny Dimes.
If that ain't homerism, what is? Danny Dimes. Come on.
Guilty. Okay, fine. But now that was then, this is now. Why you got to bring up old stuff? Look. he believes in Kyler Murray. I believe that. And yeah, he believed in Deshaun Watson, but you know what? Deshaun Watson doesn't believe in the Texans anymore. So he doesn't know that Deshaun Watson's going to be there. He probably thinks he won't be there, right? So he's going to bounce. Now, what's the number one thing? Because he had some options. Green Bay, I don't think, was one of them. How do they afford them? They don't have the cap space. So, but he probably had some options. I imagine several teams wanted J.J. Watt and were willing to pay for it. So you could say, well, it's the $23 million guaranteed. But he can get millions and millions guaranteed from several different places. That's not, I think that among the likely candidates, he is looking for a competitive situation where he believes in the quarterback. You know, when DeAndre Hopkins got traded, it wasn't his idea. He got traded from the Texans. What did we all think? Damn, Deshaun Watson. He sees his guy have to go play with Kyler Murray, right? What Deshaun Watson lost was Kyler Murray's game. And we also knew, Kyler Murray, who has a chance to develop into something special because he's already pretty good. With DeAndre Hopkins, that's real. Yes, J.J. Watt, Stephen A. What do I say? Game, recognize game. Real, recognize real. J.J. Watt sees Kyler Murray and says, yup, that's a baller. And that makes a difference. Doesn't mean it's the only reason that he's going, but I'll bet you he wasn't going to wind up on a team, and he didn't, where he looks at the quarterback, says, nope, that guy's not a baller. He's basically saying that dude's a baller. If they didn't have him, I wouldn't be here.
I'm not trying to say the man doesn't believe in Kyler Murray. I'm not trying to call Kyler Murray some scrub. I know what a young stud he is. What I'm saying is when he stands before the microphones and say, that's why I chose Arizona, I don't believe that's the primary reason. That's all I'm saying. And I think that I think all those reasons I gave are pretty damn profound, okay? When you sit up there and you think about the weather, the taxes, the defense, all right, all of those things. What's his plans for retirement? It's only a 2-year deal. I mean, I think those reasons are far more profound than Kyler Murray. I'm sorry. Now, he's a part of the equation because you certainly don't want to go to a situation that doesn't have a quarterback. I understand that, but let's not act like, oh, my Lord, you know what? I had to come to Arizona because of this kid. This kid right here is why J.J. Watt. Now, DeAndre Hopkins tried to say it was a free agent and he chose Arizona and he said that, I'd believe him because he's the wide receiver and that man's going to be throwing him the football. But J.J. Watt trying to get sacks alongside Chandler Jones on the defensive line for the Arizona Cardinals, who's been in Houston, a no-state income tax state, by the way, in Texas, okay? He's been in Houston all of these years. When I think about all of those things and it being similar to California weather, but not with the taxes, come on now. That's all I'm trying to talk about here.
Look,
right?
I would love for a player like J.J. Watt to come out and say there are 23 million guaranteed reasons why I signed with Arizona. But I don't
doesn't
really
mean anything with the
think
taxes.
that's what it is. We just showed the graphic, Stephen A. I mean, it doesn't hurt. We just showed the graphic. Kyler Murray's QBR, and we know year 2 is really the development year. That's where you want to see, like, why am I not high on Danny Dimes anymore? Why is it Danny Nichols? Year 2, I didn't see the development. Kyler Murray, QBR, you saw it. 57 and change as a rookie, pretty good. Almost 70 as a second-year player. He's trending up and fast, and J.J. Watt saw it.
Let me tell you something, Max Kellerman. And I'm going to put it out there. Molly, could y'all get that off the screen? And then listen to me, man, because Max Kellerman, you know this stuff. But we're going to crystallize it for the American people right now. Could y'all put me on camera, please, and let me break this down? Max Kellerman, 23 million divided by 2 means 11.5 million. All right? Because that's what Uncle Sam is coming for. All right? That's automatic. And then after that, Max Kellerman, you got an additional 13% if you're talking about the state of California. All right? That's going to dwindle it even more. All right? I mean, listen, man. I mean, everybody, it's actually a disservice to these professional athletes when we just throw out the number. Oh, the 31 million. Oh, the $23 million in guaranteed money. Well, I mean, that's what you gross. Damn it, what matters is what you net, what you go home with, okay? And what he would go home with if he was in California with Aaron Donald.
How would he do it on $10 million a year?
Would be less than 10 million. Would be less than 10 million. But being in Arizona, well, guess what? It's a few million more. That needs to be said, damn it. I'm
Well,
sick
actually,
and tired
Stephen
of people
A.
not taking into account Uncle Sam's take and all of this stuff. I certainly pay attention to it. No, I don't like it.
Stephen A., it's actually 23
Of course, when you
guaranteed.
make all that money
That's over
like
the,
you have
that's
to.
over, so it's half that again.
That's right.
How's he going to do it on 5 and change?
I mean, look at Stephen A. He's so much happier right now. We have LA Steve this week. Now, when
No,
you
I'm
come
leaving
back
now.
next
I'm
week,
leaving now.
you might be a little.
I'm leaving now. I don't.
Yeah, that's
Don't
what
let
I mean.
nobody
And
think
you're
I
going to
live
be.
here.
You're going